I'm really pleased to be here to pay tribute to the men and women of the Boston Police Department Operation Unit on their 100th anniversary.
100 years is an incredible milestone, and I really look forward to see what's going to happen in the next 100 years with this unit.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Call the Cops. My name is Officer Jamie Keneally. I always say it because it's true, but we got a good show, a great show in store for you this evening. Tonight we're talking about history. And in case you missed it, this past week the Boston Police Department's motorcycle unit, or MOP as we like to call them, MOP standing for Mobile Operations Patrol, the motorcycle unit turned 100, and they celebrated their 100-year anniversary. So pretty impressive stuff, as you can well imagine. And let me just tell you right now, the celebration couldn't have been more respectful and appropriate. The day began at Fenway Park, where members of the unit, past and present, I'm told approximately 200 riders, gathered at Fenway Park for reminiscing, storytelling, and photo taking. And then from the park, the riders embarked upon what we call the Ride to Remember. And the Ride to Remember was designed to honor the six officers who were killed in the line of duty during the 100-year history of the unit. In memory of their sacrifice, hero signs have been posted correlating with the locations where these officers were killed in the line of duty. And during the Ride to Remember, all the riders rode past the six locations, and then the ride came to an end at MOP Base at 364 Warren Street, where the ceremony was held to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the motorcycle unit. During the ceremony, Mayor Menino was on hand, Commissioner Davis, and Captain Crossan. All offered comments and offered remarks, and I got to say, Captain Crossan had some pretty good stuff.
If you came back tomorrow and stood roll call, many things would be just as you left. The same guys are still always late. The guys still complain about the bosses. We still ride when it rains, and we still ride when it's cold. Thank God we still ride Harley Davidsons. MOP still means money over pride. It still means the mayor's own police. We still cook out during the Caribbean Festival, and we still rush to the hospital when one of our own goes down. And once we find out they are okay, we still mercilessly attack their riding skills.
The ceremony culminated with respects paid to the six officers, again, the six officers killed in the line of duty. Out of respect to those officers, Officers Bray, Oginskis, Allen, Abbott, McCallum, and Crowley, a pair of white gloves and a red rose were placed on the seats of six motorcycles left intentionally unattended. And the roses and the white gloves were placed in the seats of those bikes out of respect to those fallen officers. Tonight's guest, who has been on the show before, played a huge role in the planning and in also putting together this event. So without any further ado, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome in Police Officer Bobby Anthony.
Welcome, Jamie.
Bobby, good to see you again, huh? Buddy, you know what? You got your hands involved in a lot of great things, and we keep having you come back. But this 100-year anniversary, the 100th anniversary of the Mobile Operations Patrol Unit, Motorcycle Unit, special event. How pleased were you with the way things unfolded?
Well, I was very overwhelmed. I mean, the morning started out very early. I started out about 6 o'clock in the morning, pre-planning some of the events to make sure that everything was in order. And when the officers started arriving, of course, we had our own mounted patrol officers show up, and they arrived with the guide on, and Freddie Stevens was presenting that. And the officers all showed up, and we saw them. It just was nonstop. The officers just kept pulling up and pulling up. And then you could see it in their faces and to talk when they started riding down. Some of them haven't seen each other in years, saw each other, and they kind of embraced each other. And you know, you could see it in their eyes. There were tears in some of these officers' eyes from the overwhelming support and showing that the department doesn't forget. And to put a program together like this, you know, with the commissioner and the chief and Superintendent Evans and others involved, Jack Mahoney, we really had a nice
Nice time. But just to, I mean, like you said, we don't forget. We remember. We always remember our own. But to give members of this unit a chance to come back to the city,
Right.
and gather and rekindle old friendships and reminisce and just see old faces. That had to be a huge part of it.
Well, definitely. I mean, we had people fly in from various ports of the United States. Donnie Whiteman came up from Naples, and we had a conversation. And some of these guys that I worked with in particular, I was able to see them. But we had an old timer there that had to be. He was 86 years old. Joe Ensko was there. He's the oldest.
So Joe Ensko, I'm guessing, was the oldest rider.
He'll be the oldest rider.
And Donnie Whiteman traveled the furthest distance.
I would think so. But
Okay.
I did hear in the group that some other people came from other areas of
Alaska, but
Alaska. Hawaii,
Greenland, places like that.
Places like that.
So I mean, just a lot of guys given a chance. You gave them an opportunity to come back. Was there any particular part of the ceremony that stood out to you that was especially rewarding?
There were actually a couple of parts of the ceremony. Seeing these people reminisce and bringing back the old stories and listening to the old stories. I felt like I went back to when I first was fresh paint on the job and got on, and I was listening to some of the old timers. Bits about what they were doing and what they did when look at you and say hey rookie or whatever.
Yeah.
And these guys just they were overwhelmed. It was great. It was a great camaraderie to see that these people. It was like being back in the service again. I mean, they don't forget. These were their heroes, our heroes, and we were able to bring them all together in one place.
The day had so many nice components to it. Of course, starting off at Fenway Park. Before you, the ride to remember, passing by the 6 hero signs and ending at the MOP base. But Fenway Park, I mean, just hugely appropriate. Also celebrating a 100-year anniversary. How'd that come about? That the day started there.
Well, what had happened was, of course, it is the same anniversary. It's 100 years old, and you're on hollow grounds there, looking at Fenway Park. It's a very historical site. Former Deputy Superintendent Charles Salucci, who is now the Director of Security at Fenway Park. I had a conversation with him, and we kind of talked about it, and I asked him if there was possible permission.
You put it on him. You put it on him.
We don't put them on. We don't.
All right. You did. You asked him. You asked him nicely. Hey, Charlie, I'd like to do a thing. No, but what a nice marriage, and kudos to former Captain Salucci.
Oh, he went out as the former captain, but he's
former captain, former deputy. Okay.
Deputy.
All right. Hey, no argument here. But what a nice marriage, though, between two organizations steeped in history.
Absolutely, absolutely. You couldn't ask for a better scene, a better location. The men and women that came out, between the multimedia coming out and taking the pictures, everybody.
Guys like Mark Valancourt and Greg Mahoney.
That's correct.
Yeah, I was surprised. I hadn't seen those guys in forever.
But Katie O'Rourke.
Katie O'Rourke. Some great photos taken.
And I haven't seen too many of them yet.
Well, we're showing. We'll show some now. But just the picture with. I mean, the fact that at Fenway Park they wrote MOP on the scoreboard. Absolutely. 100-year anniversary of MOP or whatever it was. Nice touch. Nice touch. Absolutely. So the day starts, and you can feel the love, I guess, and the gratitude and appreciation from those who've traveled near and far to be involved.
I mean, if you look at Fenway Park, and who doesn't think of Fenway Park? If you think of Fenway Park, you think of the Green Monster. And the setup was perfect, where it said MOP's 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
Right put on the board at Fenway Park, where these officers alighted and took photos in front of the Green Monster.
Yeah, it was great touch. So you leave the park, and you head out to the you drive past the 6 hero signs. And for those not familiar with the Hero Sign Project,
well, the Hero Sign Project came about with the permission of the mayor and the commissioner, who were very on board with this, and we decided that throughout the city of Boston that we would track down and locate the exact, or close to the exact location that one of our fallen officers, the 77 officers, fell in the line of duty. And we are up to about 60 signs right now that have been placed throughout the city. And what they do is the sign shop has created a design for us that we utilize, and with Commissioner Tinlin's permission, he authorized the signs to be placed. And what we do is we have the signs put at these locations to show where an officer has fallen.
It's sacred ground.
Absolutely.
And to remind people.
Some people come by and they stop just to reflect for a little while.
Remind people that here sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice was made. So in the history of the department, 77 officers have been killed in the line of duty.
Correct. 6
of those 77 died while assigned to the motorcycle unit.
Correct.
Circumstances?
Well, all the circumstances were that One officer died as he was escorting Governor Curley's motorcade.
Yeah.
Lost control of his motorcycle, and he was cut off, and he lost control, and he hit his head. All these officers, all 6 of these officers, actually died of head injuries at the time, fractured skulls. It was unfortunate.
Right.
One was on a car chase. We had other ones.
One had a motorcycle malfunction.
One, the kickstand had fallen down, and the bike had lost control.
That's one involved in a head-on collision with a car.
Absolutely, and you know, the first officer, Officer Braid, was just learning how to drive a sidecar, and when he was driving it, he lost control of it, and he hit a truck head-on.
But the years they took, the years though, the time period is interesting. 1921, 1961. The 6 line of duty deaths took place between that time, and shortly thereafter, I don't know the time, but you said a lot of these were head trauma injuries.
Right.
They weren't wearing helmets.
Correct.
And helmets came into play when?
They came into play in the early 60s.
Of the 6 officers killed, Abbott and Crowley, I mean, they're all obviously tragic, but these two officers left behind 5 kids, 5 children.
Correct.
Which really kind of puts it in perspective and humanizes the loss all the more, I think. But interestingly enough, one of Officer Crowley's kids became a police officer.
When Kathy Crowley did become a police officer, and I had a conversation with Kathy, and I've worked with Kathy.
And Kathy was last she's retired.
She's retired. She retired from the range.
She was at the range, hot ticket.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
real,
she'll tell you if your pants were on fire. I mean, that's the type of person she was.
And
she would probably light your pants on fire.
Right. You never know, but well respected to say the least. But it was last at the range. But there's a story about her becoming a police officer that would be nice to hear.
A few weeks ago, when I was explaining to her about what we were doing, she was overwhelmed with gratefulness to the commissioner and the mayor and the department for recognizing her father. Sure, that was a big time. It was taken away from her. When you lose someone that close to you or your family, how is to go on without having your father in your life?
Yeah.
She explained to me that, when she came on the job, when she got sworn in the job, her mother made a promise that she would not ride a motorcycle. And part of the story that was going on that day, and she said she kept that promise, and at one time she thought about joining the bomb unit. And she said her mother approached her and says, I don't want you going in the bomb unit, I'll let you ride a motorcycle now, but I don't want you going into the bomb unit.
Funny.
So, it's kind of, things like that touch home.
It does touch home. Overly protective mother doesn't want to see anything happen to another loved one.
With Allen, with Herbert Allen getting killed, he got killed on Christmas Day.
Ah, that's right. That was the other one that just...
And he left his kids.
2 young kids at home.
2 young kids at home, and the district got together, and they made sure that those kids had a Christmas.
Yeah.
And, that's something that, if you think back to how far, what were these officers making in those days?
Yeah.
Not
a lot of money. But it's funny, it speaks to the importance of doing this, though. For the public at large who maybe doesn't appreciate what police officers do, hearing these stories, hearing how human police officers are, and hearing about the losses, if it doesn't make you say, wow, these guys are worthy, deserving of a great deal of respect. But that story, you're right. Christmas morning, he's out on a morning watch, I'm guessing. I get into an accident at like 12:50 a.m. He's pronounced, a short time later. Christmas morning. That's just that's a tough one to swallow.
That had to hit home. I mean, really, it hit home with the officers. I know, and like I said, I can't speak for not being there, but when you stand in these shoes and these officers that are out there working this job 24/7, 365, they'll put their lives on the line for anybody out there, not knowing a stranger. And it's like, it's an old cliche that these officers will run towards fire when everybody else is running away from fire.
Yeah, run towards danger while everyone's trying to get away. But Kathy Crowley back there, she was 5 years old at the time.
Right.
And Ann Gallagher, who we had on together not too long ago. Ann,
also came to this event.
We love Ann. I know. I love Ann. Ann's the best. Was 5 at the time of her dad's death. Right. So Kathy obviously must remember that day like it was.
She does. She remembers that when they came to her house.
Yeah.
It's like what we were talking to Ann Gallagher about that. She remembers the time that everybody was crying.
Yeah. And actually, funny enough, she talks about the fact that a motorcycle officer gave her a ride.
Right.
You remember that?
Right.
And he said, let's go for a ride. And when the ride was over, she looked up at the officer and said, where's my dad? And it's just like, that doesn't get you. Right. The plaque itself. So you get back to, actually, what?
Well, taking a little bit from there, you got to remember, too, that at these hero signs, we also had posted honor guards.
Yeah.
We had 2 individuals, 3 individuals posted at each location.
When you went past the hero signs.
When they went by, they rendered a hand salute
Awesome.
as the officers went by, until the last officer went when they dropped their salute, which was an silent tribute from the fallen officer as a sign of respect to these officers, respecting that officer that fall in the line of duty.
Interestingly enough, Commissioner Davis was on the ride.
Absolutely, and he made history himself.
And you being the department chronologist, always looking for, the historical.
Always looking for stories.
Always looking for the historical thread. What's the
history? If you look at the history, Commissioner Davis was the first Boston Police Commissioner to ride a marked patrol motorcycle.
Yeah.
I was going to say cruiser, but motorcycle, and the first in the history of the department to ride with his men.
Dave, full of history, my brother. Ceremony itself, everybody rides back at, finishes the ride at the MOP base. They arrived as 6 motorcycles, unattended, set up in front of MOP base. Significance of the motorcycles?
Well, what we did was we called these motorcycles the silent motorcycles. Yeah. It's almost a tribute if you see it when in the service where we have a horse and we put the stirrups in backwards and it's an unmanned horse walking.
Yep.
That's like a tribute to the fallen souls that are gone, and these bikes are not written because this person is gone. And the motorcycle that was out in front was particular is dedicated to the Boston Police Department.
Yeah.
It's a 1929 Indian.
Okay.
It's completely done from 1929, and also on the back of the fender flares is each individual officer in the motorcycle unit that died in the line of duty.
What a great ride we just had. We went by 6 sacred places where 6 brave motorcycle officers lost their lives serving the city. I didn't know any of them, of course, but I think they would have fit in just fine with today's mobile operations patrol. Selfless? Check. Brave and fearless? Check. Check. Willing to give of themselves to protect their fellow man? Check. What an honor it is to be here dedicating this monument to them.
Yeah, I did see that. It was such a nice touch. I mean, the 6 names right there in the rear fender. So Doug Fredericks.
Right.
That's his name, and he's a museum?
He runs the museum up in New Hampshire, in Meriden, New Hampshire. It's called the American Police Motorcycle Museum. He has approximately 40 motorcycles at his museum. And this meant a lot to him. A lot of his own time he came down, and he had individuals. Harley Davidson was involved with this. They sent a spokesperson for this. As a matter of fact, this is going to be featured in the Harley Davidson motorcycle magazine coming up in the fall. Doug personally put in, and I know for a fact that motorcycle that he brought down was in the excess of $35,000 for that one.
Holy cow. Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit because it brought so much to the ceremony itself. So in addition to the motorcycles during the ceremony, a present-day member of the motorcycle unit accompanied one of the family members of the officers who were killed. Right. And they brought a pair of white gloves. The officer had a pair of white gloves and the family member had a rose. They walked over and placed the white gloves in the rose on the seat of the motorcycle.
What we're going to do here, I'm going to call up a family member from an officer killed in the line of duty along with a MOP officer who's going to be presented a ceremonial white glove and red rose by Lieutenant Kevin McGoldrick.
During the roll call, Superintendent Evans had got up and he had read the criteria of what they were doing, and basically in the criteria is the white gloves are used as a sign signifies a sign of valor, and also signifies a sign of pure.
Yep.
And these are the same gloves that are utilized at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for the honor guard there. And what we did was we presented the MOP officer, Lieutenant McGoldrick presented the MOP officer with a pair of white gloves. Yeah. And what they did was the family member was presented with a red rose.
Yeah.
The red rose signifies a flower or love from heaven coming down. And so that was the family member's tribute to this fallen officer. And what they did was they walked over they went up and they saluted the lieutenant, the commander of MOP, and McGoldrick, and walked over to the motorcycles, placed the white gloves on the saddle seat, and the family member placed the red rose on top of the white gloves.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a touching.
Hugely touching, hugely powerful, really nice gesture. Just well done.
Patrolman Herbert D. Allen, killed in the line of duty, Christmas Day, December 25th, 1927.
Again, just really well done. Well, I know you've spoken to all these families. What were some of the reactions what were some of the reactions you got from them? What were they saying to you after the ceremony?
The family members have spoken to me. I spoke to the Abbott family.
Yeah.
And Donna had told me straight out, she said that she never felt so much love in the police department, that they still would remember her grandfather that was killed in 1931. And this many years later, that they would remember and reflect upon him. And you know, to speak to somebody doing this job, it means a lot.
It's got to be one of the more rewarding pieces of it.
I think that makes this job, and it makes it more rewarding, because when you speak to someone that had some tangible effect to the person that you're honoring, it helps. It helps. It makes it know that the job is well looked after.
But it also answers the question. People probably, these loved ones probably wonder, did my dad make a difference? Did his time on this earth matter? And in the ceremony, you say, hey, we remember your dad. He made a difference. He mattered, and we want you to know we won't forget him. And we will always remember his sacrifice and service to the city. I think that's huge.
And it's like when the chief said straight out with his opening statements, you know, it was a great day for the Boston Police Department. And he also said, looking out at the stands, he said that there were 1,400 hours, I should say 1,400 years of service out there. 1,400 years of service.
Before we start our formal speaking program, can I just say, what a great day to be a Boston cop. What a phenomenal day to be a member of this department, either present or retired.
Couple of quick questions. Members of the unit themselves, guys who are in MOP right now, I know we bumped into Angel Hernandez on the way in, and he was like, hey, thank you so much. Thanks for putting this thing together. What kind of reaction and things that they've been saying? Because it had, I mean, they're there now. They're in the unit now, and to know that they're part, and to know the proud history and what the unit is about, it must mean a lot to them.
It does. I think that, you know, I saw a level of, I should say, pride in honor and distinct of the way that these individuals stepped up and they stepped forward, and we had 99% of the MOP officers there, and they were there in tribute to their brother officers that have come all the way to their brother officers that have fallen in the line of duty. And I think that the morale was tenfold that day, because it's just, you could see it.
Everybody.
You could cut it with a knife.
Everybody felt good. Chests were kind of puffed out, and people were standing up a little bit straighter, and they're like, you know what? We're a part of something important. We're a part of something special. The plaque itself, again, really just well done and appropriate. There's a couple of quotes on the plaque. I'll paraphrase one of them, but it says, heroes are people who do what has to be done regardless of the consequences. Yeah, I'm guessing you picked out the quote.
I picked out the quote because I think it reflects upon what had happened to these officers. They didn't ask to be heroes, and they didn't choose to be heroes. Yep. And it's the same day as our present day officers that are serving day in and day out right now. These officers go out every day, they put their uniform on, they put their badge on, not knowing if they make that one single sacrifice, that they may not come home. They may not come home to their families. And yet they're willing to do that. And they're willing to do that day in and day out. And these 6 officers that we honored that day did that. They didn't come home. And their families, we remember them. And their families were very grateful that day, and they wanted to express to our department, and I'm sure that they did through the Commissioner's office, that they wanted to express how grateful they were for the Boston Police Department and the officers and the retired officers and the former commanders that were there. Yeah. And I think that was a big.
Yeah, that came through loud and clear. And I guess, Bobby, just want to, again, why is it important to do this? Why is it important to really celebrate historical moments and days and units like the MOP unit? Why is it important to do this stuff?
Well, it's like you said a few minutes ago. He says the Boston Police, we don't forget our own. It's an old military cliche that they don't. If someone was to fall in battle in the service, they do not leave them there. They will get that person back, dead or alive. They will get that person back, and it's the same with our job. I mean, you know, it's a little cliche there that you talk about it, and you look at the men and women that serve this department day in and day out. They don't forget their own, and when someone can come up to you and do something like this and just be part of it, I mean, you know, being a facilitator to do something like this is very important. That we don't care. We don't care. We will be out there 24/7, 365. We do better than the post office does. I mean, we're out there all the time.
Never thought of it that way, but you're right. We're out there with rain, sleet, snow, 24 hours a day, 365. They just delivered mail like 4 hours a day. Buddy, again, phenomenal job. Kudos to you. Last question before we go. Anybody else in particular who's deserving of some appreciation and credit for help when you put this thing together?
Well, I want to say, express my thanks to former Deputy Superintendent Robert O'Toole, Sergeant Jack Mahoney, Otis Haywood, Captain Kelly McCormick, the men that were out there and the women that were out there on the honor guards, the officers from the Mobile Operations Patrol, Lieutenant McGoldrick, Doug Fredericks, the team, Harley Davison, and Deputy Salucci, Fenway Park, for allowing us to utilize their facility in order to get the word out.
It's funny. I'll just touch on that real quick. I think everybody realized when they showed up this day they were doing or they're participating or part of something that was special.
Absolutely,
sir. Chronologist. So the more I have you on the show, the easier it is for me to say that word. Department Chronologist Bobby Anthony was tonight's guest on Call the Cops. I want to thank Bobby for coming on the show. Great job celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the Boston Police Motorcycle Unit. I'd like to thank you for watching tonight. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, have a great week. Be safe, everybody. Good night.